Hey everybody, welcome back to DataDash. My name is Paul Sampson and today is Thursday, August 14th of 2025, and we have Ethereum approaching the all-time high, at least at the time of recording here, $4,878, depending on which exchange you are looking at. And that does take us back to the 2021 highs. We have yet to see a new high since then. We had a really nice spring off of this $3,300 region last week, and since then it's just been clear skies up towards this area. Now, could we be seeing the continuation of the altcoins seeking higher levels here as rotation comes from Bitcoin into Ethereum and ultimately into the altcoins? I do believe that that is what we are about to entail. Honestly, I believe that we've been entailing that for the last few months here, right? So ever since April, of course, many were a little skeptical back then. Those are really the big times when you want to get involved to really be already ahead of the curve a little bit. Now it's going to be a little bit of a dance, but I do ultimately believe that we're going to see new all-time highs here for Ethereum. I've been targeting a new all-time high for August. Yet to be seen, of course, at the moment. Still have about 2 weeks, but we're only about $100 away. So let's just jump right on into this. We're going to be taking a look at what this could mean for the rest of the overall market, and are we going to continue to see the altcoins rally, or aka an altcoin season? All right, folks, so while we are looking at the all-time high here on Ethereum, let's just take a quick peek over at Bitcoin. And while overall I still anticipate higher continuation from here, I do just want to point out that we do have two weekly levels that I just wouldn't be shocked if we did see them this week. All right, it's not a guarantee by any means, but even just to see a slight pullback to this region. We discussed this earlier on Monday's video, that we would have some new averages of price and things like that may pull the price action back down a little bit. It's no guarantee, like I said. It's not something I'm willing to even short personally from these areas, even though it is the highs. But just something to be aware of, right? We have our quarterly VWAP coming in at this region. It's a weekly NPOC, so that's a volume target, and this is an untapped weekly pivot, which is the average price from last week. Being that we're so close to it, it's just really likely that we come down to hit it, and a lot of times we hit them in a hurry, right? So it kind of jars some people sometimes when we get these really quick moves, and then seek out, probably a continuation from there. So ultimately, the idea is we go higher, whether it's from where we are now or this slight little pullback here, and see how things kind of transcend from there. And truthfully, it's only like a 3% pullback if we get it, but I did just want to point that out. That $116,000 to $117,000 region is likely to be met this week, just for statistical reasons, but I wouldn't really worry if we do. Other side of that, I'm not like holding my breath to get that either. Ultimately, I'm still seeking out $130,000, $140,000 Bitcoin as our bigger, higher time frame targets as we come into that month of September. And folks, if you're looking for a great place to trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, as well as up to 600 other pairs, both in futures and in spot, our channel exchange partner Blofin is where it's at. This is actually where I've been trading for the last few years. I've had no issues with it so far. There's been no downtime. There's been no hacks, obviously, as of yet, so knock on wood. But this is actually where I have a current trade open on Bitcoin that I picked up at the $113,600 area that we were just talking about 1 week ago, believe it or not, where we've almost seen a $10,000 move now. So I put that in the Traders Club Discord, obviously with the areas that I was looking for, the areas of interest, and I did end up picking up that long position back down around that $113,000 area. So if you'd like to come and trade with us over on Blofin, the link is down in the description below. There is a deposit bonus, but just be sure to read the terms and conditions that apply for that. Otherwise, like I said, Blofin is the exchange of my choice at the moment, and haven't had any issues with it so far. So be sure to check it out if you're interested. All right, now back to Ethereum here. We've completely erased this drop that we saw back basically at the end of this whole year. In January of 2025, we got this huge drawdown to the bottom here. We had a bullish harmonic setup down there known as a bullish bat. I also classified this as a stairs down and elevator up scenario, right, where you had two major elevator targets, realistically three, but just being conservative at the time. I was looking for more of a short-term trade there. And ultimately, though, this was a bullish reversal setup, right, that pushes us into these regions here. So, of course, we had to engage with the price action as we made some newer highs. $3,100 was our big one to push through, right? If we push through that $3,100 level, I had full anticipation of making a new all-time high at that point. So we have done so and have since just continued to see some strength here, right? So this is a very healthy uptrend. that we once again, we're able to identify down around these lows here, so that when we do get to these levels up here, you're not just now getting bullish, right? So this is something where I try to put on risk down here at these lows. I don't fully anticipate an overall all-time high exactly from that level, but once we get to these regions here, you can reassess, and at that point I did anticipate that move to continue towards this $4,800, and at this point I anticipate us to come through that region and more than likely push up to the next major target zone, not overlooking a $5,000 window for a little bit of resistance, but the overall next major targets I'm targeting and looking to for ETH is ultimately this region right here, $7,300 to $8,600. So next major areas here. Of course, we need to see the all-time high broke through and flipped at this point, right? We're not looking to trade right into resistance. However, this break, in my opinion, would be very, very good, very clear that we're going to see some more upside out of Ethereum and the altcoins. We'll be able to assess and adjust as we go. Of course, we'll be looking for things like coming up above and then closing back below, and that could change some things. But otherwise, the plan remains the same, and that we are on our way to at least this region here. Personally, I do have higher targets for Ethereum, but for now we're going to be targeting this area in the coming months. Bitcoin dominance continues to plunge here, especially with Ethereum really taking the reins and bringing some capital from from the market into Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And we had a really nice continuation here, right, where we had this downward move. I pulled a Fibonacci retracement from this high to this low, which gave us a 382 retracement and then a gold pocket. And a lot of times when we have really strong moves, whether it's up or down, we get a slight retracement to the 382, and then you get the continuation. So in this case, we were looking for a continuation down, and at the moment that's where we're heading. So at some point we may see a little bit of a bounce here because we have just been heading straight down, so just be aware of that, right? It's not necessarily always everything's in a straight line, and again, not trying to insinuate any type of FOMO or anything like that. If the market is about to see any more sizable upside, it's not going to be overnight. We have time here, and there will still be red days along the way. But overall, the big picture here is that the altcoin market is in good shape here at the moment, because if this chart is heading down, that equals good for altcoins. Again, zooming out a little bit here to the weekly time frames. This is a very high time frame look. Just as we had that bullish setup on Ethereum individually from April, when I had that bullish harmonic setup, which is a sequence of Fibonacci's with very specific ratios and targets and rules that go along with it. We have a macro bullish reversal here happening on ETH versus BTC, right, which I was targeting for a completion zone all the way back in 2023. I was targeting for us to come down to this region around 2025, between December of 2024, March 2025. April is when we bottomed, right? So, and since then I've obviously had quite the reversal from it. It's been another major reason why I've been so bullish on Ethereum of all things in the market. Not that it may not see the most percentage gains of everything, but I at least anticipated to see ETH outperform Bitcoin in a big way in this sense, because this setup, which is about 6 years long, mind you, that took us to form, has some really sizable moves for as far as targets would go, one of which being this region here, second one being our gold pocket here, and then ultimately the third one is all the way back up to our C point. But for now, we're going to be looking at these two. We're really getting to this one in a hurry. Didn't really anticipate to see this region hit so quick, but again, was well prepared while we were down in this region here, so now we can enjoy this ride, right? So a big level coming up for this area. All that really means, folks, is that we could see some resistance up there, a little bit of a cool down, right, where you see something along those lines. You get a little bit of a gold pocket or 382 retracement before continuing higher. If that's going to be the case, we're going to see that probably at around 0.043 to 0.045, all right, as far as ETH against Bitcoin. But ultimately here, with ETH heading up against Bitcoin, that again, similar to dominance going down, this chart going up means good for ETH. ETH going up is good for the altcoins as a whole. Another thing I want to point to here, just like Ethereum, Solana has been a bit of a market runner, leader, I guess you could say, over the last few years, especially with its ecosystem and unfortunately enough, like the meme coins and everything that come off of it. But it is an indication that when people are utilizing the market and using the Solana network, for example, that does impede on the overall market too, in a good way, right? So there was a really bullish setup here, similar as well. We had a bullish shark, all right, and this was a really nice setup as we came up, and we actually took the previous high. All right, so people were probably getting very excited here. Breakout traders looking for that previous all-time high to get broke. Then we came down and we actually took all the lows, right? Effectively wiping out both sides of this equation. Anybody that was getting long, anybody's getting short, wrecking emotions on spot holders the whole time. And ultimately, we had at the time, it was a naked point of control right here at about $97. and this was where I was looking for a bounce, right? Not something I went in with leverage or anything like that, but this is where I was looking for a decent little area where we could, apply some risk, look for spot positions here. And ultimately this setup has three major targets, one of which being, a really big one to get through, and it was this 196 level. Okay, so effectively we got a nice bounce here. We front ran it originally, we pulled back, so similar to what I was just pointing out with maybe with Ethereum. You get this huge move, you get a Fibonacci retracement from this area to this area. Our gold pocket retracement comes in here, so this was a 61% retrace of this move up. All right, right into key support, and then you get that the next launch and the next leg up essentially. And the three targets here, a big one is this 196. All right, you can see how we already reacted to this once. We came up, got a little bit of a pullback, and now we're pushing through it. And the thing about this setup, folks, is that there's no gold pocket resistance on this. All right, meaning what I'm pulling here for these targets is just a simple Fibonacci retracement from this high to this low. Ignore this one here. This was more locally, right? And that gives us a 50% retracement, which means that of this entire drop, 50% retracement. That's our target one. And if you were to flip that, there would be a gold pocket, a 618, a 65 comes in at like this 239 area, if I had to guess. Generally with this setup, once we get through this region, it is straight to the 886. All right, so that's the next move I'm anticipating here. It's not to say that this is a great area to just enter heavily. Again, this is for someone maybe that's entered over here at the lows, maybe picked up again over here. The risk here is still a little bit high as we are at highs. So it's not, it's not as simple as just stating, all right, we're trading above 197 for a few hours and it should go straight to 274 from now. But however, if we start closing these 4-hour candles, holding the daily, I do anticipate a really nice move up to this 274. And then ultimately the next major target is a new high at 323. Again, seeing Solana push through to these regions, it's not necessarily a huge move at this point, but this is where we would and potentially will see some of these altcoins starting to wake up, right? There's a lot of things actually still at their lows. I point out a lot of these in the Traders Club Discord, things that are, still haven't popped necessarily. They're trading at the range low and even a range rotation, meaning just going from range low to range high. There's just really big opportunities across the board here. If anyone's interested in getting more real-time updates and basically a 24/7 update schematic with all my setups, long-term, mid-term, short-term, insights to the market, direct access to me as well, you can join the DataDash Traders Club over at datadashpro.com. Just scroll on down to this region here and you can choose that area over here on the right. You can also have access to Nick's newsletter, the Dash Report, over here if you choose separately, or you can bundle the two of them together for a discounted rate for the ultimate DataDash experience here in the middle. As always, folks, just a time to be really vigilant, not a time to feel like you need to rush into things. Don't FOMO into things. Even if the market is going to see some sizable more upside, again, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. It's not going to happen overnight, and there still will be massive red days, okay? So even myself, there's things that, maybe I want to pick something up here. Maybe I'm seeing the shift in the market, and I didn't buy in because I was just trying to feel it out. I'm never going to chase a green day, and I may miss something along that way, but I will wait for the pullbacks because there will be 30% pullbacks in this market like it's nothing. That's when I like to deploy new capital, take some short-term trade profits, roll it into long-term holds. Like that's the way I like to do it. So thank you all so much for tuning into these videos, folks. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This will be the last video from the road for quite a while, so I'll be back in the main studio next week, coming at you folks with some really incredible updates I've been working on. So really excited to share that with you all. Please enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in this beautiful world, and I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, everybody, cheers.